You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold, episode 46. Today we welcome in Alessandra Ocampo from Toronto, Ontario. We're super psyched to have you. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. So you are the principal at Vantage Law doing real estate and private lending.
Yes.
We first featured you over 2 years ago. It was March 31st, 2019. So welcome.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for staying connected with Lawyer Stories. And we welcome you here into the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Honestly, I have been following you well before even that. And the stories are just they're just so interesting to read. And I love just hearing how people have gotten to where they are. And no story is alike, which is exactly why you have this going on, right?
Yeah. Every story is unique. It doesn't matter what walk of life you have. Everybody's got a story, and our platform is there to share it. And you certainly have one. And it's nice to finally have a conversation with you. So
yeah,
thanks for being here. I'm super psyched for what you're doing. Let me first say, before I get into first of all, tell me, how's it going in Canada? What's going on? Are you locked down? I love Canada. By the way, I went to Montreal probably 3 or 4 times over the course of my life. It's a great time. I know you're in Ontario and Toronto, but
yeah. So honestly, in light of COVID, it's been tough for us.
Yeah.
We are still in a lockdown, unfortunately, until I think it's June 4th, and then they're going to reassess. Can't go to restaurants, can't get a haircut, can't do a lot of things. So, we're just trying to be patient. People are getting vaccinated and the cases are going lower. However, our rules have been really strict. So
wow.
Yeah,
that's got to be kind of crazy for the Canadian community out there, because that's just something that I don't know. I feel and I'm not trying to stereotype. It's kind of a good one, but people are kind of nice and friendly, and you have this thing that happens, and I hope it hasn't divided where you are too much. The whole vaccination thing, it's become so political in the U.S.
Yeah, even here.
Even there, okay.
Yeah.
So to move away from that a little bit before I say something that I don't know, I probably want to, I want to shout out your website. I was on your website earlier, and you have an area of photos.
Yes.
And they're amazing. You guys obviously have so much fun at Vantage Law. Even though you are a Raptors fan, I'm a big Celtics fan.
Okay.
So I saw the Raptors jerseys and everything, and I just want to say that's super cool that it seems you have a great staff that likes to work with you, and good to you on that. That's really cool.
Yeah, honestly, one of the things I really pride myself on when it comes to just practicing law and having our firm is being really modern and not having that old school mentality where this is the law, it's super serious, it's not something the average person can understand. Just moving away from all of that. We're young, we're energetic, and we want to make everything really digestible. So, and also at the end of the day, you're with your staff 40 plus hours a week. Why not have a good time? You
have to have a good life if you're working with somebody so closely. You have to be comfortable. You have to try to minimize the stress. I know it's a stressful job. You're dealing with a lot of high stress thing and people's money you're preserving. But I wanted to say, I really just enjoyed looking at you guys having a good time. I think that's what it's all about personally. So good for you. Keep up that vibe. That's great.
Thank you. We actually had, because of COVID, everything is closed, and we haven't been able to treat our staff for a while. We actually had an ice cream truck come to our office last week.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, just to, take a 30-minute break, grab some ice cream, and get back to work.
That's wicked cool. That's cool. Yeah. And so where did you grow up? Where are you born and raised?
So I was born in the Philippines.
Okay.
But immigrated to Canada at 6 months old. So
6 months. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm Canadian. I went to school. So I went to my undergrad in Waterloo, Ontario. So it's about
Waterloo, okay.
Yeah, so about an hour out from where I live now. And then I went to law school actually in Australia.
That's amazing. So we're gonna get to that in a minute. But before we get to your and that was part of your story a couple years ago in March 2019. But before we get to the Australia law school experience, like tell me, like you said in your story, you indicated that from a very young age you knew you wanted to be a lawyer. Like, do you remember the moment or like what it was that made you say like this is what I need to do?
Honestly, it's yes and no. I feel like growing up, my mother was like obsessed with Law and Order, like absolutely obsessed. So I would always watch with her, and I always, I looked up to Jack McCoy, and I wanted to be him. Although I've never actually really seriously thought about criminal law, but he was just like, he could articulate his thoughts so well, and he just like his presentation was just amazing. So I always looked up to him as a role model. Yep. I don't have any legal professionals in my family whatsoever. Okay. Me being Filipino, a lot of the women in my family are in healthcare. So that was the route that even to this day, my mom can still says, oh, but if you were a nurse or if you were a doctor. So in my family, like the healthcare profession is, the way they wanted to steer me, but it just didn't work out that way.
So you would be able to like solve the COVID crisis if you were the nurse.
I guess so. I guess so.
But that's cool. You took your own path. You were like, I like this TV show. This is pretty dope what they're doing. Like, I'm gonna do that. And look what you did. Like now you're you're doing really well. So okay. So you went to undergrad, and then obviously Bond University.
Yes.
Gold Coast, right? So like how did you get to Australia? Like I've never been. I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah. I think so. While I was in undergrad, I was a little bit of a rebel.
Really? Did you?
Yeah. Where
you could send me a message and tell me later.
Okay. But I was just like, okay, well, my parents want me to do this, but no, I'm gonna do this. And I really liked the idea of Australia because the program offered was actually a 2-year JD versus 3. So. Wow. Yeah, so that was number one. Number two is who doesn't want to be in Australia? And in the Gold Coast, I was very close to a city called Surfers Paradise, which literally was paradise. Yeah, so with that, it was.
That's got to be hard. You're in law school with the 2 years, and then you're Surfers Paradise. Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. I did learn how to surf, not well, but I did learn. Right. And also it was English speaking. So with that transition is a little bit easier as well.
Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm. So did you spend a lot of time surfing? Like, was the law school intense? Like what was your law school experience like? Like, did you, something that so I often talk about, like, I don't know if they use this in Australia, but like the Socratic method, I'm not a big fan. Like, yes. I think it's necessary, but I don't really personally, that's the thing that I didn't love. That's when they call on you in class and you're just, they ask you to state the facts of the case and the rule and the reasoning, and so forth. So you went to law school in Australia, but were able to become licensed and do your articling and all that in Ontario.
Yes. So so Bond University specifically has a relationship with what's called the National Committee of Accreditation in Canada. So you can take essentially the Canadian courses, so constitutional law, foundations, criminal law, I can't remember the other, while you're in Australia. So essentially, it's like having a Canadian law school in Australia. So my experience was that I thought I'd have more interaction with more Australians, but a big part of the cohort were Canadians. So it kind of felt like I was just at home.
Really? So yeah. Is it like a known thing that you just go to law school in Australia if you're Canadian and you're able to go and do get your requirements without having to do anything supplemental when you get back into
this particular school, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are other schools that don't offer the Canadian courses, so that becomes just a little bit more difficult in terms of coming back to Ontario or British Columbia, wherever you're from, and having to do additional courses to prove that you are at least equivalent to what a Canadian law school would be able to provide you.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So you figured that out. That was really
Yep.
And then it was probably really intense because you were doing this like 2-year program. So I don't know if you have any comment on that more, but
honestly, it was intense. Going through a full year of school without a real break. We only had maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks max in between semesters.
Yep.
You like really burnout is real. I think we both
Yeah.
know that. So it was hard. But what was great is that, like you mentioned, the Socratic method, it was a blend between that and having like real legal practice. So
see, that's huge right there.
Yeah.
So you got real legal practice at Bond.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it the rules, like the Canadian rules and that everything? Like, wow.
Yep. Yeah. So we would be in moot court, and that would be a part of the actual, coursework, or we would do a negotiation. So things like that. It wasn't strictly just, being in a lecture and, being examined.
That's amazing. So when you graduated, did you immediately move back to Canada?
I did. So when I went to Australia, I did have the intention of staying there for some time.
Wow.
I think that at that age and just being the rebel that I was, I didn't realize how far it actually was, right? From home, having all of my family here.
That's far. Like you got to fly over like the US and then like around like everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. It's far and it's
not
expensive.
A geography teacher, all right?
Yeah, all around.
You got to fly like this there. Like,
Yeah. So with that, I was like, you know what? I had my time here. I had a great time, great experience. I would not trade it for anything. But really at the end of the day, this is home. And so I came back.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So did you do your articling? I don't really know where that falls into the whole process, but that was like your first year out?
Yes, so after law school.
After law school. So you did your articling there, like with a firm, right?
No, I did the articling in Ontario.
That's what I mean, in Ontario.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So how did you find a firm? Did your school help you, or did you have to look for that yourself?
I had to look for that myself.
Okay.
And it wasn't easy because in Ontario, the market is saturated with lawyers because, people go to England, they go to Australia, they come from everywhere. And then obviously there's Ontario lawyers as well. So at that point in time, and I think this was like 2013, there wasn't anything available. So I managed to get a position 2 years out after graduation. I was working as a clerk at an intellectual property firm. So, just building my resume, trying to get any sort of experience.
So 2 years out after graduation. So there was a gap for you?
Yes. But in that gap, I was working as a clerk.
Okay.
Yeah. So still in law, just not as a lawyer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Does Canada have a bar exam? Like, is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I completed that during that 2-year break.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great. So, so you did your articling. What was your first like official job? Like what did you practice? What law? And what was it like?
So I was practicing in personal injury, and I didn't like it.
Okay. What didn't you like? See, it's interesting to me. I'm licensed in 3 USA states.
Okay.
And, I loved torts and product liability. I was just having this conversation with somebody this morning. And I thought I would get into personal injury, honestly, because of, I just thought it was like the interesting stories, like with the cases and everything. But so like, what was it about the actual practice that you didn't love?
I think it was honestly the types of clients the firm had. It was hard to really believe the injuries in a lot of circumstances. So I felt like with those clients, I was more a therapist more than anything.
Okay.
So that's what I didn't like about it. And I can be compassionate. However, it's just like, if I can see right through you, it makes it very difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long were you there?
I was there for a year.
Okay. And then you moved on. And
Yes.
so tell us, like, what happened with the rest? Like, how did you get to Vantage Law? Like, where did the name come up? But like, if you want to talk about what you were doing before, then you can.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious how you ended up in this role.
So after the personal injury firm, I actually took some time off. I took maybe not long, I think 3 months.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what, that's not for me. I am now fully licensed. So I'm going to now just take a look at what the environment is like. And I'm going to find a job. So my whole life, I have always been a server. So waitress. So I have been doing that since like even undergrad. And even to this day, a lot of my clients and referral sources come from those I've met as a server.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So what I did is I went back to serving. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to serve, but I'm also going to look for a job, because why not make some money? And I'm going to network with my clients. So I put myself in a restaurant that is known to have more affluent clientele.
So
yeah, exactly. So I did that. And I was prepared with, my own business cards. So just anybody.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So
did the owner ever say anything, like you're hustling on the side?
No.
There, they probably don't care, right?
No, they don't care. As long as I was very clear with them from the beginning, and they knew my story. So they fully supported me with that goal, or that task I had for myself.
Yeah.
So
that's really interesting. I said good for you. That's a really interesting part of your story.
Yeah.
So did that.
So I did that, and I did that for so I was there for a total of 3 months. But within my first 2 months, I met somebody, one of my guests, who I was serving, and, gave him my spiel. I'm a fully licensed lawyer who's looking for a position. And, I'm open to any opportunity. So turns out this guest was starting up something called a mortgage investment corporation.
Okay.
And was like, what about real estate law? And I said, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, why not? So, we met for lunch. And basically he was like, we would be your client. Do you think you would be able to actually learn how to close essentially a private lending deal, start to finish, and just learn real estate law altogether? So I said, yeah, I can do it. So
I love that.
Yeah. So great. I had zero experience real estate, didn't own a property. So I didn't even have any personal experience when it comes to real estate. And I then just connected with all the real estate lawyers that I know personally and said, listen, I will bring you files, clients to close deals. I don't want a cent, but I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to sit right beside you, and you're going to teach me start to finish.
Wait, so you were telling from this client that you met at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Or like you were telling, you found some real estate lawyers there, and you told that you would bring them your files that you had. And
no, so he wasn't a lawyer. So he essentially was an entrepreneur.
Right, but you had cases. So you would bring cases to like other lawyers and say, I don't want you to even pay me for these cases. So is that like a ethics thing to get like a fee from?
No, because I wasn't making any money. That mortgage investment corporation, vetted the lawyer and agreed to have the lawyer who was teaching me to act on their behalf.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody was fully aware of the scenario. I
But
was
do
just
you, like, do you think some people would have just been like, oh, I'll do it myself, like without trying to like sort of associate with another attorney?
they maybe, but I didn't have any experience.
I
So
think
that's
that's no, what I'm saying is I think that's super smart of you. You got your experience
yeah,
by not trying to like be totally like, I could do this, I could do that. I mean, you really wanted to learn. Like
yeah.
you had these cases that you found somebody to like really teach you. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly. So there probably would have been somebody else who would have been in my shoes and said that, okay, let me just wing it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's just, yeah, there's too much money involved and there's too much liability for me
Yeah.
to even try.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, okay. So how'd that go? Like you found,
Oh, amazing. So I was with them, so that mortgage investment corporation, for about just under 2 years.
okay.
And then, it was time for me to be independent. And that's when Vantage Law started. So in total, I have been practicing real estate law for 4 years now.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you have quite a staff too. I mean,
Yes.
I looked at when I was on the website, I noticed that. Like, what's your staff like?
We are at, I think, 8 clerks.
8 clerks. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have something called commissioners as well that assist with, signing up clients. But yeah, so we have grown substantially because our volume has grown. We've really made a name for ourselves in terms of the private lending sphere. And also a lot of mortgage agents and brokers appreciate the fact that we're a more modern firm.
Right.
And that I don't take the approach. I don't know if this is a problem with you guys out there in like Massachusetts, but here a lot of lawyers will just completely, disappear, where it's just the clerk handling it and you can't get a hold of the lawyer. So, there's a lot of times where all of these mortgage agents or realtors or whoever it is that's referring me deals, they can always call me and I will always know what's going on. So they appreciate all of those things.
So that's what makes you different, basically.
Yeah.
Than other people practicing real estate. So tell us, like, what about like the infrastructure of like being a business person? Like you're obviously a business, you have 8 employees, you have to like have some sort of a payroll and infrastructure. Like you have, like, what is that like? Like what's like the biggest challenge, and like what do you like the most about being a business person?
Honestly, I love the business side of things. I love going out and bringing in business, connecting with people. Obviously, meeting the person who helped me start all of this was because I was serving them. One thing I'm really proud of that some people would argue isn't something to be proud of is that I just have no shame. I will ask for
That's
business.
awesome. Yes. I'm going to use it as a quote on our caption. For this Instagram post that we're going to do in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Alessandra has no shame.
But if I haven't heard from a referral source for a while, I will actually call them and be like, okay, so what's going on? Like, did you forget about me?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, what happened? So that I love talking to people.
So you love, see, that's perfect for partner, a founder, like a principal. Like you are like the Rainmaker. Like you like making the sale, and when you clinch that sale, that's so satisfying to you, right? Am I right?
It really is. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I like the work. I like the nature of real estate where it is very transactional, where really at the end of the day, I can have a client for maybe like max like a month and a half, 2 months. And then after that, they've purchased their property, they have refinanced their mortgage, they've gotten a loan, whatever it is, but it's short-lived. And then I can move on to the next.
And then they go their merry way and you have like, that's good. But they'll refer people to you if you did a good job.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like, I like the business side of things where it comes to even the social media or, the Google reviews are very important to us. So having all of that, and I feel like all of those things all together just makes us more of a approachable firm.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I would get that just by looking on your website. I know I brought this up before, but you know, you don't see that too often. And I thought, like, when I looked at that, I'm like, man, these people are cool. I want to go to Canada and, like, even though I am a Celtics game fan, I definitely go to a Raptors game and check that out. Like,
well, you know what? When it's open, I will take you. You come to Toronto.
Yeah, I'd love to. Like, I just like the vibe that you have at your firm, and I would definitely be referring people to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's great. Like, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm really glad for you that you have such a good thing going on there at Vantage.
And all of my staff, we all have some sort of customer service background as well. So like that is really important because I feel like, yeah, a lot of things are teachable, but if your attitude or your mindset isn't hinged on the fact or realize the importance of that, then you're not a good pair for us.
Well, I think you doing what you did with that's like true hustling, like doing that at you know, being there, aligning yourself with the right people, working at a restaurant that had more affluent people, being able to hand out your business. Like, you really, I mean, you knew what you were doing. And I think people would entrust their business with you because they know you're going to get the job done. I would think that based on your story and what you said. So speaking of your story, like, how do you use, I know you're into social media. We try to help you wherever we can. Like I said earlier, like Lawyer Stories would be happy to connect you with, I know anybody can DM anybody, but if you ever want a warm, like, sort of email connection with anybody that you see that's been featured, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, we would.
That's what we do. Like, that's what we want to do. So, like, how do you use social media, like, to sort of promote your brand and Vantage Law?
So I feel like we've really leaned on social media more because of COVID. Before, I was at every single event that I could be at, but now, because nothing is happening, at the very least we have social media to remind people and put us, you know, at the forefront of their mind that, you know, Vantage exists, they can close my deal. And really, at the end of the day, like, social media hasn't brought me a lot of clients, like and it's just the ones that I've already connected to face to face who just remember that I do exist. So what we use it for is just, you know, credibility when clients do look us up to see that we are active. And really, it's only Instagram that we really use. We do have a Facebook page, but it's hardly, like, in use.
So that's interesting. So you say social media doesn't bring you a lot of clients. I mean, do you think it's important to network with other attorneys who might actually have referrals though for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually only practice in real estate. So when, for example, today I had an estates issue that I obviously can't handle myself, then I had to refer it to another lawyer. So with that, it also just adds to the full service that we're trying to attain, right? So if a past client or a new client comes to us and is looking to, I don't know, it's a family law issue, I don't want to just say no. I want to say, we can't help you, but let me direct you to someone who can.
Right. Okay. No, that's great. And, like, you were doing some work with, like, the USA, right? Like, with lending. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think it was 2018. I visited Las Vegas for what was it called? The American Private Lending Association. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but so I went out there and I met with a bunch of hard money lenders in the States, and was trying to just, you know, start up some momentum in terms of connecting with different private lenders that potentially may or may not be interested in lending money out here in Ontario. So I have, I think, 2 American private lenders that I represent now. But, you know, the intention was to grow that further. But, you know, the borders are closed. So being able to connect the same way I did back in, 2018 isn't a possibility right now.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, you know, maybe eventually.
Yeah. No, it's not written off.
Yeah. So like, going back, I know I don't want to be all over the place, but I'm just kind
No,
of
it's fine.
like you said you have 8 clerks, and well, first of all, okay, you have 8 clerks. How do you like being a manager? Like, how do you like managing people? Like, is that something you like to do? Or
I love it.
Okay, me
I
too.
love it.
I do that.
Yeah.
Job, so do you have any advice for like young attorneys who are like going through the hustle and like going to law school, or thinking about law school? Like, what would your advice be?
Honestly, just don't give up,
Yeah.
because I definitely felt like I wanted to a few times. It took me a really long time to become fully licensed because of that articling component.
Right.
And also just like seeing everyone else's progress sometimes just doesn't, it hinders you, right? So you just feel like, oh, well, this person's doing that. Just don't even compare.
Right.
And be open to any sort of opportunity. I feel like having your mind set on something, on anything, because at first I was like, no, I'm only going to practice intellectual property, and I'm going to become a trademark agent, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And I feel like that slowed down my progress. So having that open mind and just being amenable in terms of like seeing an opportunity and actually taking advantage of it is something that you have to do. And I've met a lot of lawyers where they are a lawyer and they have this massive ego that stops them from being able to doing more. And at the end of the day, that ego what is that going to do for you? In some cases, maybe you'll get that one client that loves that attitude because you're this type of lawyer. But
Yep.
really, like, at the end of the day, having that ego is not really gonna project you forward.
Right. No, I think that's absolutely true. So like, one thing I did read on your website, I know I keep bringing up your website. It's not like it's not like I just went over your website and like got a bunch of things to ask you. I just actually was drawn to it just to make it clear.
Okay, that's good.
I thought it was really good. And like I want to just make clear that like you make yourself available within a 2-hour radius to like all your clients, even on the weekends. Like, you're always there.
Yeah.
Answer questions. Like, a lot of people have questions about, when they're working with their finances and that sort of thing. So, so I think that's really a cool thing, like weekends and evenings. So,
Yeah.
So
honestly, again, it just goes back to just making law digestible, because really at the end of the day, people have their 9-to-5s or they have their children, whatever it is. Honestly, COVID has changed a lot again, with respect to that, where we're not traveling anymore. Everything is done virtually, just like this. Where we don't have to go to that 2-hour radius. Doesn't even exist to us. We can do all of
Ontario. Right, all virtual. So
exactly.
I was actually going to ask you like how COVID affected you guys.
Yeah. So prior to COVID, we had to verify all identities in person.
Wow.
So yeah, so obviously you can't do that in COVID. So it has changed our environment substantially.
Wow. Okay. So you could identify people in person, but did they make any rules, like any amendments to those rules? Like,
yeah, so they did. Now, obviously, everything can be done virtually. There's specific rules in terms of like having to verify the client's ID while you're on the video call, making sure that they can show it to you in person, in addition to them sending it to you in advance, taking a look at who's in the room. So not just having it on their face. So just to make sure there's no, undue influence, and being fully aware of who's involved there. So yeah, they definitely did apply rules to us.
So Alessandra, where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years, your firm?
In 5 to 10 years, I see myself growing this firm to more than just real estate law. Continuing on, with, I did get licensed in British Columbia.
Wow.
Yeah. So
isn't there like a solicitor barrister thing there?
Yeah, that's here too.
Is that there too?
Yeah,
like, so are you a barrister? Like, is that?
No, I'm a solicitor.
Oh, you're a solicitor. Okay.
Yeah, but I do love how Americans always say attorney, but we don't use that at all.
No, I mean, I just, I have like featured a number of people from like, and I guess So can you talk about that for a minute? Like the solicitor,
so solicitor meaning, you're into transactional work.
Yep.
And then barrister meaning that, you're in court. You do.
And they have a wig too. Like they put on that wig and
we don't do that.
Oh, you don't do that there?
No, kind of wish we did, but we don't. We do have robes. Which are, so the robes are like super heavy and in the summer are just like, super uncomfortable. But I've only worn the robes once when I got called to the bar.
Okay.
Other than that, I have not worn them and I have no intention to because I'm not meant to be in court. So the barrister solicitor thing, that's how it comes into play.
That's awesome. That's wicked. That's really cool. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else that I've left out that you want to talk about?
No, I love that we did this finally.
Yeah, me too. Like you're, we featured you like over 2 years ago, and like believe me, I'm so like, I feel so like it feels so nice to have people who've been like with me for this journey and to finally get you on there. You're like one of the originals, and to finally have a podcast was like really cool. And I'm really happy for you to see like how far, you've come along in your career, and it looks like you're doing awesome things. You are doing awesome things. And, I hope I could connect you with people, and I hope Lawyer Stories can really provide value for you in the future somehow, even if like doing some posts or, whatever you want, like we'll work with you to help do that. No, thank you so much for that. I have intentions of visiting. I love Boston. I know come on of Boston. My favorite restaurant while I was there was Yvonne's. Does that still exist? I don't. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Like my wife would probably know. I don't. Okay. I pulled her out of Brookline, and I was in because my job was up in Central Mass, and she was in the Boston area. So yeah. But yeah, I think it does sound familiar. Yeah, I actually traveled to Boston once just to go and eat there. But it's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing. Vantage Law going to be flying themselves pizzas from New York soon, right? Well, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, I love that we did this. If you ever have the opportunity to come to Toronto, I welcome you to come visit us. And if the Raptors are playing, then I will take you to a game. Hey, if they're ever playing in Boston, come on down. Oh, okay. There you go. We're gonna get better over the off season. We're kind of struggling right now. Okay, well, we're not even in the playoffs. In our series, yeah, it's kind of weird that you're not in the playoffs. I know. You just had a super fan inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is kind of cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's interesting that they went that far to do that, but that's But no, I mean that's great. Everybody should definitely check out your website. And how can people get a hold of you? So they can connect with us on Instagram. So it's at Vantage Law _. Or my information's on my website. So that's vantage-law.ca. And I'm always available, just like we discussed. Or contact Benny Gold at Lawyer Stories, and we'll put you in touch. So okay, great. There's nothing else. I'm gonna sign us off, and then you stay there for a second. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. Lawyer Stories Podcast with Benny Gold, episode 46. Such a pleasure to have you. Thanks for being here. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.